Oh, that's a good start. Every time I forget to take the graphic down. There we go.
Oh well.
Oh, hello.
Very good.
Fancy
Hi,
meeting
everybody.
you.
Welcome to the Interesting Modelling Company Sunday service, or it's so late this evening, I think we should call it the Monday service. We are joined tonight by our motley crew of modelers, not the terrible hair metal band. I think we'd be pushing it for a hair metal.
They had their moments. They had their moments, to be clear.
Fair enough. Anyway, how you doing, gentlemen?
Oh, in fact, I've just momentarily gone blind. Fabulous.
I'm all right.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I actually got
Chris,
some.
Chris, are you lying?
Pardon?
Chris, are you lying?
I am not lying. I had a good week, in spite of everything. And no.
I think I just keep it straight and you say a good week, all things considered.
Yes. Well, everything in context. It's got to put everything in context.
Oh, dear.
So, what have we been working on this week, gents?
We're all pointing
Chris,
at you.
Go on, Chris. Go on, Chris.
I'll go first. Okay, I'll go first. I did some more work on the Tiger Cat. I cut open the rear cockpit, and I'm making a new rear cockpit because the Cobra Company one doesn't really fit very well. And did some other kind of brute force work on it to lopped off the nose, put the radar nose together, and stuffed it full of weight. So that's coming along, and that's my primary project. I did a little bit of work on the Hawk 81 to mask off the windscreen, and then I found a new sliding canopy for it, masked that off. I'm not sure if anybody's done this, but I've built so many P40s. I have a box that's just a part,
just full of P40 bits.
It's all full of P40 parts, and so I was able to find an extra canopy from an Academy kit that I was able to sand down and make look right, and much easier than scrounging up a vacuform replacement, because I took the Airfix canopy single piece and lopped off the back part and put the windscreen on, and then I'll put the sliding canopy on from another kit. So that's fun. But my this week's diversion from the F7F is my 10-year plus conversion of the IBG C. Which one was it? It was the
CMP something.
The number 13 cab CMP Canadian pattern truck into the C60L 3-ton truck, which is that's all the little bits together. You see, you can pretty much figure out what I made from scratch and what came from the kit. Interesting. It's been an interesting process. When I first cut the frame and built the frame up, put all the stuff hanging off the frame, I had up my desk and I came in and discovered that my cat had turned it into a toy and chewed all the parts off the frame. Yeah. So that was a setback. And then I figured out after I made up some new wheels based on the kit wheels in the C15 or the 13 cab, the earliest edition of this. This truck had bigger wheels, so the Holmes breakdown kit from IBG donated the wheels to this thing, and then from there it's been just putting it together. And the great thing for me, the cab, it comes in lots of different pieces. There's a windscreen, there's a roof, there's a rear cab piece, there's all the interior parts. And I was having a heck of a time getting the windscreen on with the roof, and I put it aside. And I came back this morning and looked at it, said, "Oh, here's how to do it," and just did it. Bang, it was on. And that's a great feeling. So I'm making right now the batteries that go in that little rack there, that's in the middle of the frame, and sort of right behind the cab. And after that's going to be some another layer of olive drab paint, and getting into the final assembly for this thing. So pretty excited about it. It's a there's the cab. You see that strange angle that has it kind of threw me for a loop for a while. It's got some part detail stuff in it. It's got a lot of scratch built stuff on it. Really interesting vehicles. I think they made 300,000 of these trucks in World War II of various types. And this thing had I think it had like a 68 horsepower engine or something in it, a 3-ton truck with a 68 horsepower engine. So don't get behind it on the freeway. That's what I'm saying.
The only way that I get 0 to 60 is if you push it out the back of a Hercules.
right. But they're really ubiquitous trucks. They're very much like the Commonwealth
you
version
always
of
tell something's like sort of designed in the 30s or 40s by the angle of the windscreen, can't you?
Yeah, there was another pattern cab that looked even more archaic that was the Canada produced. This is like the modern version, but they did their job. You know, they lug stuff all around Italy and Northern Europe and a little bit in Africa, I think. Yeah, so it's going to make a nice accessory for one of my dioramas with aircraft. I think I'm going to put the canvas cover on the top of the back, and maybe open that rear gate. And yeah, it's nice to see the project coming to near conclusion. We'll see what happens this week.
It's very neat work with the plastic card there, Chris. It reminds me of the Gerald Scarborough, wasn't it, Drew, who used to do all the conversions in Airfix magazine, did the little books and everything.
Yes, yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
His work with plastic card was always very sharp, beautifully done.
It's fun.
Ian, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Yep, Ian, what have you been up to?
I finished something.
Ooh.
In a moment of shock and horror. I finished another Skyline. I've got a thing at the minute about Tamiya Skylines. I work on the basis you can't have too many of them. So this one was kicking around the bench last week in colour, and it's now finished. This is there's 3 iterations of this kit. This is the middle one of the 3. There's a V-Spec 1, a V-Spec 2 NUR, which is this one, and the Z-Tune version. I've used some of the bits, the custom bits that are in the kits. These are the custom 5-spoke alloys and the rear wing mounts, which have moved slightly at some point during the drying process. I've just noticed. It's painted with Gunze GX metallics, as is becoming increasingly my want for my road cars. They're just so easy to use. I mean, that's 2 coats over a pale grey primer, a couple of 3 coats of rattle can UV cut gloss clear, bit of polishing, bit of Trizact, and Bob's your auntie. I'm quite pleased.
It's an attractive car, the Skyline, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think there's ever. Well, I'm not a huge fan of the really early ones, the sort of square section like Asura and things like that. I love this R31 onwards to R34 period. Just think they look kind of brutal. I think that's possibly a little bit of Fast and Furious influence going on there, but I liked them before that. So, yeah. I'm also working on the next one along, which is an R35, which we've seen before, which has got the body conversion on it. It now has an interior, a chassis, lots of decals, panel lines, and a satin finish. So that's making reasonably good progress. That'll probably be finished by next weekend if I get a good run at it. I've been doing panel lines on it this afternoon with the ink as I do. That's needs to dry, and then I'll put another sealer coat. I'll take the glass is only taped in at the minute. I do have wheels for it. I just haven't decided which set I like most, or is it which set I dislike least. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that one. I did manage
some lovely detail on the brake discs there, Ian. It's a shame they're all going to get hidden by the wheels, isn't it?
But that's the thing. There's one set of wheels which are very very flat and black and sit quite a long way back, and you will lose all that detail with those. And there's another set of complex spokes that will sit over it, and you'll be able to see a lot of that detail. So I'm leaning towards those. They're both running ridiculously low profile tires. I mean, it will sit very low. there's a wing to go on the back, which
Mhm.
I'm still working on the fabrication of. That's got PhotoX multi-part uprights and but that's there's a good chance it'll be done for next week. If not, probably the week after. And I've moved on to another couple of projects in the background which are in primer. So there, that's me for the week.
There we go.
How productive.
Scary.
No, I've got. When I was having a tidy up in here the other day, I found a Gert Big fresh can of Halford's Gloss Black that I'd never used. So that's the Ford Escort R Bath, which will be moved along this week at some stage. So yes, Drew, what you been up to?
Finished the model.
Hey, is it an F-35? It is an F-35.
Yes. This has been hanging around entirely too long, really, hasn't it? When we consider we started at the Nationals, so it was. I say I finished it. I'll give it a couple of days and then go back and have a little look. I think I might need to do a little bit more weathering on the vertical tails yet. But yeah, that's the Hasegawa Tamiya F-35C and 48 scale. Finally finished. Another one of those ones where it just in the last sort of in the last couple of days, it seems to become a bit of a snowball effect where it all comes together really, really quickly after still looking like it was in lots of bits when we started off. At midweek, it was still really hadn't even been matte varnished at that point. So, and then it all comes together in a couple of days. So, and I think I've got the weathering on the rusty look.
What causes that?
It's just there's ferrous compounds in the Havglass stealth scheme, and obviously the salt water gets to it on board ship.
So it is almost a form of rust then.
It is rust, yeah. Basically, it is rust.
Good Lord.
Because it's like I say, it's the ferrous compounds in the Havglass paint react obviously with the seawater and stuff, and you end up with this kind of effect. I haven't seen it. This was the 2021-2022 Argonauts first cruise with the aircraft. I don't think I've seen it since, so I think they got round to addressing it fairly quickly, and I haven't really, like I say, seen it on an F-35 since. So possibly it's just a one-off. But all the aircraft in the squadron that were on board had a variation on this kind of weathering on them. So yeah, it's so there's everything going on the underside there. All the stores and they use the wheel chocks as well, as you can see.
They come in the kit, do they?
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, everything here is just straight from the kit. There's nothing here that isn't in the box. The only things I've done that are any different at all is I applied the seatbelt decals to some black painted aluminium speed tape and cut them out to apply to give them a little bit of sort of body. But other than that, yeah, this is basically everything you see here is what comes in the kit. So overall,
I do think the C has a much better balance to it. I just think that big wing, it does something to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's my favourite variant. It's my favourite variant by some margin. But yeah, I think I got the Havglass finish captured pretty nicely, and then the weathering over the top just with ammo light rust in spotty sort of speckled over and then worked in, and lines and stuff drawn and left to sort of dry, and then worked and stumped in with various other brushes and stuff, and I think it's come out pretty nice ultimately. Hope Andy will be pleased with it. Obviously, it's going to go and live elsewhere.
I'm sure Mr. Farmer will be delighted with it. And
Andy will give me a job in the fire escape.
There we go. You read my mind. You read my mind.
So yeah, that's the F-35 done, and I suppose you'd say ready for. Why have I got? There's a lump in the paint on this side, and it's really annoying me now.
That's been fitting in your brain for about the last 20 minutes, hasn't it?
Hey,
that's been resident in your brains through the whole conversation.
What?
That little mark, that paintwork.
Yeah, that little paint
all the way.
It's off. It's gone. But,
gone.
Yeah, so I'm overall. I think it's.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the inevitable 72nd scale version, because it's going to happen. Of course, it's going to happen. So yeah, I'm looking forward to building another F-35 of sorts.
Do you know what? I'm all done with F-35s. I never want to see another one again.
Nah.
I'll probably be building another one before the next 3 or 4 months are out. But I've just it's for an aircraft that is fundamentally one colour. It is
They're labour intensive, aren't they?
Absolute labour intensive aircraft.
Yeah.
Just even the ones now where you haven't got all the different coloured ram tape and stuff. Just getting that finish down is still sort of like a 3 or 4 step process before you even start any of the weathering, because it's a remarkably subtle finish to get, and that's the first time I can honestly say I'm really happy with the way that finish has come out. But it was the most complex way of applying it I've yet devised, so it's kind of
there seems to be variation from aircraft to aircraft or batch of aircraft.
Yeah, there very definitely is, but I think by far the biggest variation is in the lighting when it's photographed.
Yeah,
that is by far the greatest variation, because you can look at that in some lights and it's just grey.
Yeah,
and the second any sunlight catches it or bounces off of it, it's clearly metallic. And that's the first time I've managed to capture that, where if you're looking at it in dull light, it's grey, and then you shine a torch or something on it, it just becomes it's got that metallic glint to it. Just a really, really labour intensive scheme to get done to my satisfaction, shall we say. So
we're going to do a quick roll call and say hello to everybody who's tuned in tonight. So starting with Damien Mullen, Nick Brown, Michael Scott, Bruce Bell, John Huston, Andy King, Kitchen Table Modeler, Hobby Time, Dave Fleming. Dave Fleming says hello. That's a good impression of Dave, that is. Steve London, Travis Thompson, Black Skunk Works, Lee Suter, Michael Hooverling, Kev Tinker, Jerry Doyle, Mike Williams Models, Adam Cooper, Dougal McWoogle, Phil, Anne-Marie Ryle Gould, Chris Sandham Bailey on plastic wheels, that's Ian. Shane Weir, today Shane, Rally Chef's Model Shed, Greg Woodbridge, Peter Oxley, Darren McQuillan, Jim Altegott, Dave Coward, Lee Cole, Wayne Beatty, Peter Oxley, Paul Voyle, Philip Jones, George Ross, scrolls down, Andy Preston, Simon Lewis, Phil, Go For It Painting, scrolls down. There we go, Jet Scale Models, Tony Surridge. Good evening to you all. Ian Goldstraw, Stephen Kessel. Good evening to you all. Right, what have I been up to this week? Well, this turned up in the post, and it is quite a few people have been having these this week. And I got the 72nd scale Aerocraft Miles M52. Now, if I say there's a bit of a family connection to this, not necessarily to the aircraft, it's just my maternal grandparents used to live in a farmhouse in Hurst, and my late uncle lived in Reading, and Woodley was equidistant between the two. So that's where I kind of learned about the Miles Aircraft Company. But This is a thing of wonder. Here is the packaging. So there's your instruction sheet, a rather nice little color print, which I am going to get framed and will have in the workshop here. And here is the meat and potatoes. Here is the kit in beautifully printed grey resin. It's honestly, it's almost a shame to have to start taking this apart and building it, because it's just utterly wonderful to look at the artistry and the skill that has gone into this. Yeah, I mean, it's, for those of you who don't know the story of the aeroplane, essentially it was the British kind of parallel precursor to the Bell X-1. And despite what General Chuck Yeager said on the Right Stuff documentary, Miles had figured out the all-moving tail. That wasn't a Bell innovation. So there we go. And in fact, a lot of the research from the Miles M52 ended up heading stateside. But I've got to be very, very careful here, because some of these bits are just so delicately printed. But I cannot wait to get going. That's the undercarriage legs there. So delicately done. And what have we got here? We've got the controversial all-moving tailplane. Whoops-a-daisy. We've got the tires there. There's the tailplanes, the rudder, and then the nose. And you get two seats. You get one with fabulously molded straps in place and a bare one, and two instrument panels, one with printed dial details on it, and the other one is completely blank. Let me just bag all this stuff up. I don't want to lose anything from this, and I don't want to damage anything either, but it is just, honestly, I almost want to wait until Drew comes up here so that he can see it in person, because I think Drew...
Is there a vacuum canopy with it, or?
Coming to that, there is a little decal sheet, and
it's yeah, that's okay.
Cast
a
resin.
little. Is it cast resin? It's not printed, is
That'll
it?
be cast.
That's
That'll be
cast resin.
Yeah.
That has the work of a couple of people screaming at me.
Yep, and also a very nice little decal sheet, and also some canopy masks as well, which is just as well. I am so looking forward to building this, because, as I say, it's got a bit of a family connection, in as much as I had family living around near Woodley, and I managed to get a book in Whiteman's bookshop in Bath back in the late 1980s, a book called Wings Over Woodley, and it tells the story of the Miles Aircraft Company. So that will be a constant reference as I'm making this. But yeah, I think this was about £27, including postage, but worth every penny, because it is just... There we go. Might be a little under scale, that.
Depends what scale it is.
1/200th.
1/200 scale.
Wow.
Made by a man by the name of Fred Hempsel, who is sadly no longer with us. Given to me as a gift many years ago. Right, shall we crack on with the news? And this, well, after we finished doing last week's show, this dropped on Monday morning. and it's from our friends in New Zealand, and it's Qatari, and it's a 32nd scale Hurricane Mark 1. So this is going to be the follow-up to their Spitfire and their 109 that they're doing. And I don't know about you chaps, but I think Qatari have done their homework on this.
It's a banker, isn't it? That.
Oh yeah. It's you know, the traditional strategies. Let's start with the one that's maybe not the most popular. You know, the fabric wing, and work towards the next purchases by people from the one they're really psyched about. But I like the fabric wing Hurricane. They're
it's definitely got the most interesting color schemes.
yeah.
Some of the aircraft that were on the continent during the initial
Phony war and stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
that's great. And the renders I've seen have got really nice work on the wheel wells and stuff like that. And you know, again, as a 72nd scale bigot, I won't be building one, but I'm kind of psyched to see these on the table someplace.
Now, it looks absolutely beautiful, and I think Qatari have done. They've done what I know the guys at Airfix did, and that's when you're doing a Hurricane, you start off with the dimensions of a Merlin engine, because so many Hurricane kits down the years have ended up with noses that you wouldn't get a Merlin engine in.
Right.
But this doesn't. This has that. It looks to have that Merlin engine beefiness to it. I think this is the thing. I think we've become so thrown by Hurricane models and kits down the years that we don't fully appreciate sometimes how chunky the nose is on a Hurricane. You know, it's really quite brutal in some respects. But this looks absolutely fabulous, and and it's nice that they're starting off with a fabric winged version to kick off with, and you know, seeing how Qatari work, I think it's pretty fair to say that they'll probably be looking at other variants down the line. So big thumbs up here.
Love that airplane.
Oh, what's Chris got there?
That's an Airfix one, mostly on the way. So
it's not a bad little mod, that Airfix one, is it? It builds very nicely.
Well, it was an invitation to learn more about those Battle of France Hurricanes and the people that flew them, which was, you know, if you read about the pace and the intensity of their combat, the guy who's planning on building, I think he flew, you know, for the duration of the battle until a point where he fell asleep, and he got sent back to the UK and didn't wake up for 3 days. You know, flying 7 or 8 missions a day, that kind of thing. So yeah, great subjects historically.
Yeah, here we go. Drew Mantle fan clubs turned up. James Ray says, "I'm impressed. Shout out to Drew for turning what I previously considered a boring subject into something interesting." There you go, Drew.
Thank you very much.
That's
it's an aeroplane that is a lot more interesting than a lot of people give it credit for.
I think the C is, and I think the C is because it's, I know you didn't do it, but the C, folding wings, pylons, things to hang off of it, I think it's the most interesting variant, and interesting markings as well.
Yeah, so far. So it's, and the US Marines are using it as well. In fact, they've just upped their order, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've just upped their order. People are liking your F-35, Drew. There we go. Right, I like it as well.
There we go. The next news story tonight, and it's Dora Wings, and I've lost where we are. It's Dora Wings, and they are doing a special boxing of their 48. Whoops, not that one. 48 scale de Havilland Beaver float plane. This is a limited edition for Japan. Includes 3 styles of landing gear, wheels, skis, and floats. I think it's fair to say that's quite a colourful scheme. That's I like the look of that one, but I also do like the look
Oh,
of
that's
the
nice.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ah.
the New Zealand Arctic Research one.
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
That's
That's
Australia.
Australian. Brain fade there for a second. It's because we were talking about Qatari. Yeah, the Australian Arctic Research one, and then a Canadian one. I do declare.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what. Dora Wings have to say. This 48 scale model kit from Dora Wings is a Japan exclusive. The de Havilland II Showa aircraft used aboard the Antarctic research vessel Sawyer. The de Havilland Beaver was a STOL aircraft, first flew in 1947. In Japan, it was operated by several airlines, and the Antarctic Research Expedition also used one aboard the Antarctic research vessel Sawyer. This aircraft used to withdraw the first team members staying at Showa Station during the second wintering party dispatch in February 1958. Scrolls down. The other schemes are the Australian National Antarctic, not Arctic, National Antarctic Research Expedition, and the Ontario Provincial Air Service in Canada. But that does look pretty good, doesn't it?
It's an awesome aeroplane, isn't it? It's just what an amazing aeroplane the Beaver is.
Mm-hmm.
Just yes, I will be getting one of these in due course, because it's long overdue a kit of this basic quality, I would say, and they've done it in both in 72nd and 48th as well. So
I do like that one. I remember seeing Mike Keep's artwork of that one in Sam back in the 80s, and I just thought it looked like a fabulous scheme. So,
also interestingly, it's worth mentioning that the ship that the Japanese one operated from, the Sawyer, Hasegawa do a kit of that ship.
Very nice kit, yeah.
350, isn't it?
It's some way. I'm not sure it's 350th or if it's some 200 and something th scale. It's I thought it was a strange scale. I may be wrong. It may be 350th, but yeah, they definitely do they do a kit of it, so they can make quite a nice little set piece, couldn't it?
I've just found it. It's would you believe it is actually 1/350th.
Okay.
We're doing live imaging on the show here. Share screen. There we go. Hasegawa Antarctic observation ship Sawyer 1/350th scale.
You're not live with it, mate.
Sorry?
You're not showing it.
Oh, right. Sorry. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Yep.
That's a fabulous box, isn't it?
Yep.
That's great, isn't it?
That's really nice.
Hasegawa, you got to admit, Hasegawa have had some of the best box art of the last 30 or 40 years. Some of their boxes are absolutely stunning. To the point at which the artist came to Telford one year with his books.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Indeed.
Yeah, and I may have spent far too much money on him that day.
That's Shigeo Koike.
Yep.
Yeah.
He has a gift for the vehicle, but he's also great at the natural surroundings the vehicle's in, which is kind of what sets it apart, I think.
Yep. No, absolutely. I've got a picture somewhere of a very happy Tim Maunder fanboying Mr. Koike. It was that was good though. That was good fun. So yeah, lovely chap as well. As is Tim. So there we go. Right, the next news item tonight, and you might have seen a sneak preview of it just now, and it is goodness me, we've lost the text here. Oh well, right, we'll just bring the images up. I know. It is Clear Prop, and they're doing a pair of Tu-143 raised drones. So they're doing a TV reconnaissance version, and they're doing the photo reconnaissance version. These are 1/35th, so they're going to be, I say,
they're going to be reasonably sized, but not massive.
yeah. So here are the schemes for the reconnaissance version. So you get a Ukrainian one, and these are very much in the news at the moment. In fact, I think these are all Ukrainian ones. No, we've got a Czech one there, and a Russian one, and then that was the TV version. Then of the photo reconnaissance one, we've got Ukrainian, we've got Romanian. That's a rather interesting one, isn't it? Then we've got Czech, and then we've got another Ukrainian one. I'm going to be keeping an eye out for one of these chaps because there's no undercarriage to faff around with this, and there's no clear parts to worry about either. So, well, when I say clear parts, no canopies or cockpits to worry about. So, in theory, should make for a nicely kind of rapid model.
Yeah, it was actually, they built a lot of them as well. It was actually in quite widespread service. Yeah, and I think Ukraine has been, shall we say, repurposing them in recent years, and making them decidedly more cruise missile-y. But yeah, it's a great looking vehicle. It really is.
Got a touch of the Thunderbirds about it, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, you put those red stripes on there, and suddenly, Thunderbirds are go.
But it's kind of what happens when you make a D-21 drone work properly. Because it's all quite, like I say, you can see all the countries that have used it, and Ukraine is still using it now, and like I say, have been repurposing it as well. And there is, hopefully they'll get around to doing its big brother, because there's a Tu-141 as well, which is very similar in general layout, but is about 50% larger as well. So there's plenty of possibilities. But I really like it. I think it's a great looking vehicle.
I'll give you some. Here we go. I've just looked up the stats on it. Wingspan of 7 feet 4 inches and a length of 26 feet and 5 inches. So in 35th scale, it's not going to be massive, but it's still going to make an interesting model in that scale.
Palette cleanser. After you've beaten your brains out on a difficult airplane, build one of those, because, like you said, John, you skip the landing gear, skip the cockpit. You get to the finishing part pretty fast.
Yeah. I need a palette cleanser at the moment. That's
what for me and Nissan Skyline is for. Sorry.
Well, Drew, this next bit of news might be. I get the feeling one of these will be heading your way. This is ClearProp again, and this is their 1/48 scale F86A Sabre, and famously kitted by Matchbox back in the day.
That looks. I know. I was going to say it looked from that box art like it had a flat windscreen rather than the V shape. But no, I think that's just the way the box art.
The angle. Yeah,
you can see it on there. It's quite clearly still got the V-shaped windscreen. Yeah, I see that. I mean, the 72nd one is now on release as well, which I must grab one of. But this is a more interesting one than the one I've already got because of the markings. It's the Korean War, the early Korean War Sabre markings with the stripes with the black and white stripes rather than the yellow and black. That's just such a beautiful aeroplane, isn't it? It's just dear North American, you got that one right.
I remember in the Osprey book series, the photo books, there was a couple on Korean War aircraft, and I had them both, and they were absolutely rammed full of pictures of early Sabres and F-80s. And gave them away. And you regret something.
I've actually got a book, one of those. I'm not sure who it's by, but there was a book released a couple of years ago on the F-86A in Korea. It obviously I suspect I haven't looked at it, but I suspect all these aircraft will be featured in that book somewhere. But yeah, I mean, what an aeroplane! What an aeroplane!
Oh yeah, just it's a quintessential fighter right there. And,
yeah. Every inch of that aeroplane looks right.
Yep.
And it doesn't really matter to me what they did with it. I think everything from the FJ1 Fury, which is basically just a Mustang with a jet engine, really, right through to the FJ4 Fury and everything in between. I just think the aircraft always looked right. Always looked just.
The FJ1 didn't look right, but then the FJ2 looked great, and then because it was a Sabre. It was this kind of Sabre. It wasn't a Fury.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I like the FJ1 because it was like you can see the family lineage, how you went from, how you went from there to the to the Sabre, is quite obvious, and I like the fact.
FJ1 is a cute little airplane, and early jet. And honestly, they flew from right over there. They'd fly over right where this house was. They were based. A lot of them were based at the Naval Air Station Oakland, which is like a half mile that way. Yeah, it was great. The reason that the FJ1 turned into the FJ2 and the FJ2 was radically different was because it was their way of sneaking the program past Congress, because Congress didn't want to pay for a new airplane. But hey, an FJ2 is just a modification.
I'm looking at you, Super Hornet.
Right, it's not a different airplane at all.
I love the fact they snuck it past and said, no, the nose is the same on the Hornet. Look, it's got a Hornet nose. And then on the second and third blocks, they changed the nose as well.
Many of the fasteners are interchangeable.
Yeah. And then guess what? They weren't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But there's a long history of sneaking stuff past Congress.
Yes, funding is always fun, but yeah, it is cool to see the evolution of the Sabre. I mean, I think Clear props onto something really great here, because there are historic Sabres like the ones in this boxing. There's Sabres like the Commonwealth CA-30, which is really cool. The big cannon armament. There's all kinds of things you can do with Sabres, and it's just a matter of putting the kits out there and making them available for people. Yeah, I've always wanted to build a whole series of those aircraft, and I'm waiting for things like a good FJ4B in 72nd scale.
You know what? I keep thinking Sword are going to do that. Sword are going to do that. Sword are going to do that.
Yeah.
It's like I keep thinking, you know what, Sword, if you want to go a bit bigger, apart from the fact I think there should be an F7U1 as well. That's Sword's territory, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And if they want to do a Pirate, I won't object either, because existing kits aren't great.
Mm-hmm.
But if they want to go big, I'd like to see them do an a Vigilante, a 5A.
A really good one. Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah, the attack version, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's there's so many 50s aircraft, isn't there, that still need doing.
I think that the Clear Prop now has a license to print money with these Sabres. They're going to be cranking these things out for a long time, I think. Yeah, and hopefully it can fund some other things like what you're saying, Drew, some of these really great forgotten 50s aircraft.
Yeah, I would be surprised and disappointed if they don't do an F-86E.
Yeah,
it's not that big, is it?
It's not that, new fuselage halves. You can do an F-86E without any trouble at all, couldn't you? Mm-hmm. And cover that, because everybody else does Fs, and
right.
Everybody else does Fs, and you get a 6.3 wing and all that kind of hard wing and all that kind of bump. But all we want is the next evolution of Korean War Sabre, which is the year.
Yeah.
So and that still needs doing properly in 48 scale.
Here is a subject that I'm frankly amazed it's never been done before. A shop. Well, there we go. This is from Gecko, and essentially it's one of these containers that was repurposed as a military shop. I'm going to say I've got mixed feelings about this because we got some images here of what appear to be moldings, and the actual container looks fabulous. That looks really smart. Drew, I think I know somebody who would be all over this, building this, and that would be our mutual friend, Mr. Pollard. This would fit into,
I could see having some real fun with a 3D printer doing all the stuff for the shelves.
yeah. So there we go. This is the innard. So there is what looks like a refrigerator in the background and shelving, a fan, a chair. Then we come to the bits that I'm not liking the look at.
Yeah,
like,
the sandbags aren't great, are they? The dog's a bit.
The dog looks like it's been out in the sun a bit too long. Also, the sandbags, when I was processing the images, you can't see it because I've shrunk the images down a bit. But on the photographs, there was some heavy Photoshop editing going on the corners of those sandbags. Some cloning. Clearly, you can just about make it out on the corner there. Some cloning just to kind of seemingly disguise the joins. Yeah, I love the actual container itself and all the goodies inside, and you got some photo etch details, but yeah, those sandbags. I think I'd need to know somebody who's got a 3D printer. And the figure of the chap looks quite good. He sat there reading a technical manual called Playboy, I do declare. But the dog, no, that dog needs to go to a vet. It's not looking well, is it? Poor thing.
Geez.
Is it me or a Gecko trying to do for the Vietnam War what Mini Art are doing for European conflict?
Yeah.
Because they've done a number of these kind of things, and they're all based on the Vietnam War.
Yeah,
it's strange because that M16 looks really nice as well in those pictures. So it's kind of like it's definitely a mixed. That M16 looks really nice. M16A1, I should say.
Yeah.
M16A1. So
the container and all the accessories and the figure, they looks fabulous. It's the sandbags and the dog.
The dog needs putting down, I think.
That's harsh.
I would just suggest waiting half an hour for that dog. You won't need to put it down. It's going to expire on its own.
Let's move on before we upset all the animal lovers out there. Right, this next release again is definitely Drew territory. There we go. This is X scale, and they're doing 144 scale P3C Orion. Yeah, I think it's.
You know why that has my attention mainly? Because I love that color scheme on an Orion. That original engine grey and white is just what a scheme! What a scheme!
We've got some Models UA had some photographs of some shots. I do think this kit is out now. Actually, I think there's a couple.
Yes,
of guys
it has. It's been shown. It's been shown as released this week. I do have the Electra that it's been developed from, and that's X Scale have just done beautiful models. Full stop. Really, they're really those, and who was it? CR or whoever it was, are also from Ukraine and getting into 144 scale. Yeah, it's the year of the Orion, isn't it? Because Academy have announced a 144 scale one as well. So it's the year of the Orion. Yeah, colour me interested. I still think we have plenty of room for a 72nd scale Orion.
I'd agree. Is it my imagination, Drew? Are those two different styles of fin there? I'm not.
I've got the impression that it's just an insert for the other side of.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
And also that, I mean, the Dutch scheme's nice as well, isn't it?
It's kind of it's extra dark sea grey and kind of sky, isn't it? Really.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that's a really nice collection of schemes, isn't it?
I do like the Japanese one. I do like Japanese maritime aircraft.
Just a really nice collection of schemes, full stop, I think.
Yep.
You can't miss. You cannot miss with the P3. There are so many great schemes.
It's just you know, it was the Western world's patrol aircraft for getting on half a century, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there were very few. There were very few countries that didn't use it. You know, the RAF with the Nimrod, the French and the Germans and the Italians, I suppose, they all used the Atlantique. Although even Germany now uses Orions, don't they? I think the Dutch ones, when they left service, they went to the Germans, and the Germans updated them. And now the Luftwaffe or the Germans are just waiting for their first P8s, aren't they? So,
and don't forget CP 140.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, CP 140. It's just one of those it's one of those most successful aeroplanes since World War II, really, isn't it? In terms of everybody had a few of them.
Yeah.
It wasn't like nobody had hundreds of them, but everybody had sort of 10 or 12 of them. It feels like. So yeah.
The U.S. had hundreds of them because when I was growing up, they flew out of Moffett Field and they were all over the place all the time in the sky. So we had a ton of them and they were ubiquitous. And it's a
I suspect, Chris, it was one of those things where you became so used to them that you didn't pay any attention.
Yeah, if you heard that noise, it was a P3.
And then all of a sudden they were gone. You know, it was like me growing up in the 70s in Yeovil. The place, the air over here was constantly heaving with cameras and hunters.
Right.
Every day, just everywhere.
Yeah, Brian Wilton asks, is that a mask set with it? I do declare, Brian, yes.
That'll be a little vinyl mask set. Yeah.
It's great to see this come out because I think before this, the only P3 in the scale that was anywhere in the ballpark was like Arai or something like that from a long time ago.
Yeah, Arai made it in about 1981, 1982, wasn't it? About the same time they released the Blackbird.
Yeah, I've seen people put a lot of blood and sweat into that to make really nice models, and it's going to be a lot easier to do it with this kit.
We have a Mr. Michael Reeves of this parish-ish. He says, just a quick FYI, there is a host of 72nd scale P3 stuff for the Hasegawa kit coming from a certain 3D printing company.
Finally, Mike said something interesting.
Hey? Oh, great.
No, just kidding.
No, I think, Craig's been working on bits and bobs for Orions for a month or two now. So, that'll give you plenty of avenues to upgrade the Hasegawa kit, which is, lest we forget, 46 years old now.
Yep.
Ouch.
Did that get issued by Frog, or am I having a seen it? No, it never was. No, it was
there was Frog artwork. I don't know whether it ever came out, but it was due out in the same year as the Neptune.
The Neptune was released, but the Orion wasn't released till 1979.
Oh, right. Okay.
There was artwork at some point in a Frog catalogue, I believe. But I don't know. I thought it may have sneaked out just right at the death, but possibly not. I might be wrong.
But yeah, I mean, the Orions from the Neptunes from a good few years earlier, which is another kit. Which is another aircraft we need new plastic of.
Yeah.
The Neptune, in a variety of flavors, I would venture to suggest as well.
Some of the later developed Japanese ones with the jet engines and stuff like that.
The P2J had T56 engines and a pair of J47s under the wings, or something like that. There was a Japanese model a few years ago converted one of the kits, one of the Hasegawa ones, to a P2J, and I just remember it being a jaw-dropping model.
Can't remember the guy's name. That's the guy that always does the in-flight photography and stuff.
Yeah,
He does the most beautiful work with old Hasselblad. He did the B47 a couple of years ago, and it was just amazing.
Drew, do you remember Fine Scale Modeler in the 1980s? I know this is a sore point for you because you got rid of all your Fine Scale Modelers, but there was a chap who built I think it was a Vietnam era.
The AP2H.
That's the one. And he used a cigarette lighter to make the nose housing for it, or something.
The gondola under the fuselage.
That's it. Yep.
Was, yeah.
In that kind of wraparound 3-tone camo thing, wasn't it?
Yes, the one that was later seen on the Nogs Bronco, which ICM will shortly be gracing us with.
Yep. Yeah, that was a great article. That. Right, next, Armour. And they're doing a PR photo reconnaissance P39 Aera Cobra. What do you get in the kit? It comes with a painting mask sticker, metal balls for weights, and decals for 3 US military types, 2 for the Q6 and 1 for the N2. Optional parts such as 2 types of exhaust pipes, 3 types of propellers, drop tanks and bombs are also included. The left and right cockpit doors, rudders and elevators are all separate parts. A 3D printed camera window to reproduce the reconnaissance type and a drilling template for installing the window are included. A QR code is included in the instruction manual to download 3D printer data for accessory parts that can be used with this kit. I gotta say, these are 3 very, very nice schemes. But one of them coming up in a second, which is Snooks, that was converted and built by the late great Chris Ellis, and it appears in How to Go Plastic Modeling. So that's.
I didn't realise Snooks had a camera bay.
Apparently so.
Because that was one of the options in the Academy kit, I seem to remember.
Mm-hmm. Well, it kind of makes sense because Snook's third, it was William Shemo's airplane, was an F6 Mustang, F16.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I just don't. I don't remember it. I have to say that natural metal Aera Cobras look wrong to me. But they look. But it looks so wrong that I like it.
Well, there's a compromise one. There's what looks to be olive drab one with.
Oh no! I completely do the natural metal one just because it looks so wrong.
Okay. Rather nice decal sheet there with a set of canopy masks, and there is the digital file for the seat and for the seat and control columm by the looks of things. And gun barrels, yeah, and the exhausts. So that's rather clever, isn't it?
It's a clever rework. Basically, all the bits that they sell, it's got bombs and it's got this and it's got this and it's got this. They're all on the standard sprue. The only bit that's different is the decals, the masks, and the 3D printed camera bay, because everything else is their standard kit.
Yeah.
Because
They've
all the variations are in the box as standard. As is ever supposed to. I've got one in my hand and I'm working on it. So it's very clever. It's what Armour do. They did it with their Hurricane.
Fabulous model, isn't it? It's
the Sea Hurricane. Yeah, you remember the Sea Hurricane when they did that Sea Hurricane 1? Was it where the first time I'd actually bought a mainstream kit with 3D printed bits in the box, which allowed me to convert it to something different to what it was in. And they're really being very clever with how they're marketing these.
That absolutely. They have jumped in both feet into the 3D printing game with sort of offering new boxings of their stuff with 3D printed parts.
3D printed closed undercarriage doors for it, please, because that's brilliant. But apart from that, I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful little kit, and that's my second. That's going to be Cobra 1. I've already done Cobra 2, the 2 racing aircraft from the 46 Thompson.
Yeah, I did one of the brown and green camouflage US Army Air Corps ones.
The P400 came out in a double kit. Cactus Airways one with the
Wildcat.
That set. When you looked at it and went, "Oh, it's a little bit spendy," and then you opened it up and you had 2 complete kits, a shed load of decals, a shed load of masking stuff, photo etched bits, 3D printed doodahs. From when you actually sat and looked at it, it was like it was kind of like, wow, that's a lot of kit in one box.
And the thing is, if you go on their website and buy their 3D printer files as well, they're really cheap.
Yeah,
they're really. It's like £1.50 for that seat and exhausts and all that. They charge you a couple of quid for that file.
I managed to throw out the correct exhausts for Cobra 2 when I was building it, and Dave Swindell, who may be in that list of people, very generously did that, printed them out and gave them to me. So I had a set of exhausts for Cobra 2. So yeah, I mean they just, and the quality of the 3D printed stuff they do is phenomenal. Getting it all out of a tiny little 1.5 or 3/4 of an inch square block of 300 bits without sending it shooting across the winds. Yes, all right.
The next bit of news, we're going to have to rattle on with the news here, chaps, because we're poking through the hour mark here at the moment. This is Gecko, and this is 1/16 scale. It's that scale again, and they've done a set of World War II British infantry weapons, and as you can see from the image here, you get a Thompson M1, a Bren, an Enfield .38, a Sten, another Thompson, 2 Lee Enfield rifles, a Boys anti-tank, 2 types of Boys anti-tank rifle. This does look, and the this kit contents photo etching parts. I think they mean this kit contains. For the people who make models at this scale, this is going to be an absolute godsend, I'd imagine, especially if you're doing things like Bren carriers, which is one of the things that I am. If I break my 1/16 scale duck, it's either going to be a Bren carrier or a Panzer II. But that looks pretty sharp, I'd say.
They've missed something on the Boys, though. There should be a little fabric bag containing a sling for when the blooming thing dislocates your shoulder when you try and use it. The recoil on them apparently was impressive.
Utterly useless.
Utterly useless, but probably potentially more harmful to the person using it than to the person at the other receiving end, by all accounts.
The SMLE number 4, on the other hand, I was a good shot with that in the cadets back in the day.
And finally tonight, I've gone a bit Trevor McDonald here. And finally, this, I've got to say, this has piqued my interest. Not my scale, not my subject matter, not a company I don't think I've ever seen any kits from. Armory. And I do declare they're Ukrainian, aren't they, Drew?
I think they are, yes.
Yep. They're doing a
There's two, isn't there? There's an armory from Russia and an armory from Ukraine.
Okay.
I'm presuming this is a Ukrainian arm of it.
This is a 1/200th scale, so it's an unusual scale of the USS Monitor. Now, the USS Monitor was an ironclad warship built for the United States Navy during the American Civil War and completed in early 1862, the first such ship commissioned by the Navy. Monitor played a central role in the Battle of Hampton Roads on the 9th of March under the commission of Lieutenant John L. Warden, where she fought the casemate ironclad CSS Virginia to a stalemate. The design of the ship was distinguished by its revolving turret, which was quickly duplicated and established. It was quickly duplicated and established the Monitor class and type of armored warship built for the American Navy over the next several decades. Lost at sea during a storm on the 31st of December 1862 off Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Wreck located on the 27th of August 1973 and partially salvaged. What? Doesn't that just look absolutely brilliant?
It looks like a terrifying thing to be on board.
Oh yeah, it was.
Oh my lord! It barely looks seaworthy.
So imagine like a Mark I tank in the middle of a fight in the trenches, right, with things rattling off the hull and the engine making the thing hotter and blazes. That's exactly what this was when it fought the Virginia, because they were both basically impervious to each other's armament, and all it was solid shot smashing off the sides of these things. So inside, it'd be like being in a metal barrel and having somebody bang on it with a baseball bat for 2 hours. And rough conditions, and of course sea keeping wise, that low freeboard, it sank in a storm, and not a very big one.
Lord alive, it just looks terrifying.
It's actually missing figures of Will Smith and Ken Klein on that.
I mean, freeboard's about 9 inches, isn't it?
Yeah, it's dreadful.
Yeah.
It's a great subject. It's a phenomenal. And when you think about the period it was built in, isn't that the Merrimack underneath that? So, do I remember that?
The Merrimack was under the Virginia. That was captured.
Okay, yeah. So I can remember. I knew there was a link somewhere. But you look at it and just go, someone really thought that was a great idea. And
Virtually a submersible, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. When I saw the box art, I thought it was an American Civil War submarine, but no, it's a ship, but it's very low in the water. Obs.
Wasn't that the Turtle? Was that Civil War?
That was the American Revolutionary War. So that was a different shape entirely.
They're getting that out just in time for round 2, aren't they? Really?
That was a Revolutionary War, when the ungrateful wretches.
That's right. The turtle's main armament was a screw type drill that would.
I remember reading about that when I was a kid and just thinking, what lunatic thought that was a good idea?
Yeah, the Monitor was actually just a single use submersible. You get to dive once and surface never. But
Hunley, that was it. Hunley.
I mean, it looks like a weatherer's dream.
Oh, I was just thinking that. You read my mind, Drew.
It looks like a weatherer's dream, but it looks like a sailor's nightmare.
Dave Swindoll just pointed out that Hunley was the Civil War submarine, and now I'm going back to a fine scale modeler article where a guy built Hunley and he used tape lapping to do the plate edges of the body of it. And I remember being absolutely fascinated by that process and trying it out on an old Airfix Sunderland just as a test bed thing, thinking that was fantastic. And I don't think I've ever used the process since.
I've just gone off on a tangent here. I just reading up on the American Civil War. It ended on May the 26th, 1865. But goodness me, that was kind of like 50 years before World War One. It just blows my mind, that period of history, and it was a period of history just in time for photography. So, but yeah, this I'd like to see how much this is going to be. Probably not going to be cheap, but I like the look of that. And as Drew said, it is a weatherer's dream.
You said 200 scale is an unusual scale. It's actually becoming quite a bigger ship scale.
And also Ken Burns' series on the American Civil War as well, worth searching out if you haven't. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely glorious.
Mm-hmm.
It's well worth the as is Vietnam War one as well.
Mm-hmm. Right, chaps. Any other business?
One other thing I'd like to mention, if you don't belong to a model club, you should, because things happen that are interesting. Like at the Friday meeting, somebody brought in a bunch of stuff from a modeler who'd passed away. He hadn't been a member of the club. Just out of the blue, they wanted to figure out what to do with his stuff, and so we said, "Bring it in, see if somebody wants it." Well, he brought in a bunch of stuff for free, 5 tables worth of stuff, and it wasn't kits. It was I got a whole bunch of oil brushers. I got a bunch of sanding sticks and adhesives and thinner and decal setting solution, and there was all kinds of stuff. So there was like a big paddle wheel steamer kit that was partially started, all kinds of stuff. And so the club members helped themselves to it because that was what this person wanted. And that things like that happen in clubs. It doesn't happen if you're modeling by yourself. It happens when you've got that group of people around you to be a sort of a focus for things like that. So thanks for Lawrence Rossi for all the great stuff that he left. I've already started using things that he left behind. So
John, can you overlay Chris's camera with a vulture of some description?
It happens to everybody. In fact, in our region, we have a term for a table at a contest for somebody's leftover stuff after they're part of this plane called the dead guy sale. And it happens. It just happens to everybody.
Well, I benefited from that in last year at your show because there was a couple getting rid of a guy's collection of old car kits. I walked in and he just said everything's $20, and I went like, "Oh my god!" And there was 1950s, 58 to 62 classic AMT kits. There was all sorts of stuff, and yeah, I didn't leave with much of my folding remaining. Let's just say that.
Yeah, patience, my ass. Let's strip his collection.
Well, yeah, the family had brought them down. They were like, "What's left after today? We're going to give to the VA." I was like, "Oh, all right, then. I'll take a load of them back to the UK with me."
Better get busy.
3 trips back to the truck. Let's just say that.
Drew, any other business?
No, I will not be here next week because I will be in Dublin.
With
I'm
Mr.
going to
Doyle?
Dublin. I am going to see Mr. Doyle on Friday evening, and we're going to the Irish Model Soldier Society show on the Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, expecting to have a very fun weekend, and won't be back till Monday. So yes, Dublin.
Are you having a beer?
There may be a Guinness involved at some point along the way.
Excellent.
I could possibly comment.
Ian, any other business? He's been buying things. Here we go.
I haven't been buying things. Well, I kind of have.
Yeah, of course you have.
I've been going through my stash looking for a couple of work in progress kits, and I came across a couple of BMW kits I've painted really, really badly, and they were painted with lacquer, Tamiya lacquers. Now I stuck them into a container with a load of bleach, and they sat in it for above a week, and nothing happened. So I was bemoaning this to a friend of mine, Lee Elliott, and Lee said, "Have you tried this?" And this is a German product by a company called Carson called Paint Killer. Let me tell you, they're not kidding. You put it in a container, you put your bits in the container, you get a brush. Funnily enough, I was using quite a nice dry brushing brush that I had kicking around, and the paint, I was down to bare plastic in seconds. It's phenomenal stuff. It costs about £10 a bottle. It's not a big bottle. I have left it sealed in a Tupperware box, what's left of it, for another thing that needs stripping that I now can't find. I put it somewhere safe, as you do. But it's just phenomenal stuff, and it's very, very heartily recommended. It says removes X, XF, and LP paints, AS and TS spray paint, PC and PS Lexan paint, and many other paint systems up to and including 2-component paint. So 2-pack clear. Paint is removed without damaging the base material such as the plastic, lean resin, metal or model glazings, and it doesn't attack the clears. I've tested it. So that's the way to make paint accidents never happen. Absolutely brilliant. Cannot fault this stuff. Really, really recommend it.
So it's far safer for removing 2K paints than any method of applying them.
That is possibly the case. Yes. I've got another thing actually. Last week, or a fortnight ago, last time I was here, we were talking about the Nunu kits with bits in, and my friend at Nunu very generously sent me one of said kits. So this is the BMW 320i E46 Super Production Die Deutsche Touring Car Championship 2001 winner. I've obviously got this kit in a standard form. It has gained a sticker, and as we much suspected, it's gained a decal sheet. That's it. So what they've done is they've bundled them up with an SK Productions decal sheet. This is the 2002 Macau entry by Carly Motors, and a charter sponsored. And that's all they've done. They've literally spun directly in it. So much as we suspected, it's not a branded thing. It's literally just the let's get rid of the stock. Now, the thing that was noticeable, I don't know if you can see the inside of the box, there's some storage damage with these boxes. I think they're shifting excess warehouse stock from somewhere, and that's a really nice and easy way of doing it. I'm not arguing, because them decals are 17 quid a shot normally.
Fair enough.
Nice.
So, he has promised me the other two as well, so
Can't beat that.
can't be bad.
I've got a couple of bits of any other business here. I'm going to be very, very quick. I am finally got round to getting the rest of the paint, bit like Drew. These are Telford projects that was started. So I've got some paint on the little Tamiya Panzer 1, and I've started covering it with dust. And this is oil brushes. I love working with these. These are great fun. So still a long way to go on this, but I'm kind of liking how it's kind of panning out at the moment. And I love the Panzer 1. I think it's such an interesting vehicle. And again, this is going back to one of Chris Ellis's articles from 1976, where he converted the Italeri Panzer 1 Aus B into an Aus A. And I copied that conversion with the little Eschi kit. And that was my first ever competition placing at the Bristol Model Soldier Show in 1985. So that's a work in progress. And I've also, this afternoon, I started chucking mud and everything at my little Tamiya 48 scale Stuart howitzer. And if I just zoom in, this is the part of the process I absolutely love, of putting that first pale layer, speckling the first pale layer on, and then going over the top of that, when it's dried, with darker layers, just to get that kind of dry, wet mud look effect. There's still quite a way to go on this one at the moment, but again, this is the part of the process I enjoy, and I am loving this kit. It is brilliant. I've got to build more of these 48 scale Tamiya tanks. I know you've built a couple, Drew, and they are tremendous fun, aren't they?
Oh, they're just so easy to build, and they're quick, and they allow you to get stuck into weathering really fast.
So that's it for tonight. Oh, we've got some housekeeping for me in Goldstraw. He says H.L. Hunley, also known as the Hunley CSS H.L. Hunley or CSS Hunley, was a submarine of the Confederate States of America that played a small part in the American Civil War. Hunley demonstrated the advantages and dangers of undersea warfare. She was the first combat submarine to sink a warship, the USS Housatonic. Or Housatonic or Housatonic, Chris?
It's Housatonic.
Housatonic. There we go. That's it. A big thank you to Drew, Chris, and Ian for tonight. Goodness me, hour and 20 minutes. That's quite a marathon. Look, Drew's doing some modelling.
I just thought, I'll get the airbrush out. We're nearly done. So
you're nearly done. So some of us will be back next week. Drew won't be, but we will, fingers crossed, we'll see you all again in a week's time. And also keep an eye out on the Facebook feed, because there will be project updates on there. So until the next time, it behoves me to say thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. So bye for now.